Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Now when you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you can use promo code DNVR, make your first deposit, and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code DNVR, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. I am Patrick Lyons.
And I am Suzie Hunter. Patrick, what a series that we like to call, lovingly, the Battle for the Basement, with these two last place in the NL. Well, you know.
And if it's a battle for the basement and the Rockies come out on bottom, what
we won the battle!
Yes, we're going to get a better draft pick next year. Twice bitten. Yes, Diamondbacks win the series last week in Phoenix. They win the series here in Denver. Rockies dropped to 51 and 66 on the season. They won Friday night. Then they lost the last two. We're going to celebrate Wynton Bernard for those who celebrate. And if you're listening to this podcast,
you better celebrate.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to ever get to that point of enough with the Wynton Bernard. We a month away of a month of nonstop of anything, I think is too much.
Well, we're not there yet, so
we're not. I
don't
know.
Cross bridges when you get to them, Patrick.
I am sorry.
You're always living a month ahead. I need
You're
you
right.
to reel it in. Let's live in this weekend where we got to see a really great debut that's also getting national attention.
Oh, so much. Yeah, and thanks to you. I mean, you got DNVR some national attention. You were on the scene for that.
Yeah, in case anyone has seen any of the video that MLB has shared and every sports outlet. I was like, oh, we took that.
At the bottom from DNVR Rockies.
DNVR Rockies, we
and
did
then
that.
Invisible ink beneath that.
So it's a win for us, too.
Off of Susie's phone.
Yes.
So it's all of those things. Well, let's get to Sunday's 7-4 loss. DraftKings Sportsbook, king of the game, was Ryan McMahon. Was 3 for 4. It was 0 for 1 through the first 4 innings. And then the 5th, 6th, and then I think 8th, he had 3 hits just in those innings, had himself a double as well as an RBI. Starting to heat up a little bit, and you were there where I asked Buddy, you whispered some certain sweet nothings into McMahon's ear 2 weeks ago, right around this time.
To be fair, he did not say sweet nothings to Bud Black.
No,
in our
it was
presser.
implied. I think we both knew that that's what we were talking about.
Is it?
And he's kind of, he's been a McMahon whisperer a little bit. McMahon's played a lot better. Seems like he's a little bit more comfortable doing, not pressing quite as much. We don't know exactly what was said.
And Bud won't tell us.
No, and I think, we've discussed it in the past 2 weeks, what it probably was about. And I feel like Buddy unintentionally touched on it. Hey, no matter what goals you were setting for the season, you probably aren't going to hit those goals right now because of, how frustrating your play may have been for you for the first 2-3 months. So just go out there and have a little bit of fun, do your thing. And he's been doing that, I think, really, really well.
Yeah, I feel like he maybe has gotten out of his own head a little bit. But again, we don't know for sure. But whatever he's doing, it's working because he is our beloved king of the game today. Yeah,
he had a double as well as Elehuris Montero, Randall Grichuk. We saw Arenado earlier in the week take a called third strike to end a game. Now we see Montero do it. A lot of symmetry here in this. Rockies have now doubled. This is just one of those weird stats that doesn't really mean anything, but they've now doubled in 35 consecutive games since July 7th. It's now a franchise record. I think maybe 2001 they had done it 34 times. So now they've snapped that record. It's the longest streak this season. Longest streak since, I think, Oakland in 2019, who doubled in 36 straight.
That's something.
It's exactly what that is. Something with a lowercase s, because that's really all that it is. With 3 hits that matched a career high, or rather a season high for Ryan McMahon, which was good to see. He did that on July 5th against LA and has now recorded 3 or more hits 18 times in his career. So he's heating up at a right time. Grichuk has been very hot. He also had a double. Montero's been playing really well, had himself an RBI. Dinelson Lamet out of the bullpen, been pitching really well. 2 more scoreless innings for the Rockies. He's had 3 outings. He hasn't given up a run yet in 5 innings. So despite the fact that, the Rockies, I think, are tinkering with his stuff a little bit, fastball, slider, maybe there's a third pitch in there, but we might not see that third pitch until next year because these games count. This isn't practice. This isn't tinkering around. This isn't tinkering around with a third pitch. The question was asked, and it was a fair question because Lamet is legitimately a guy who could be a very good, mid-rotation starter. And maybe that's even a low bar to set because he did get Cy Young Award votes in that shortened 2020 season. So we've seen him fairly recently pitch very well out of a starting role. Now he's kind of more of a long reliever for the Rockies and is just a really nice pickup that will be interesting to see what happens going forward here with the team. Have you been impressed with Lamet's play on the field as well as his hair?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I have to say, the Rockies pick guys with great hair.
A little bit.
We've got some good hair going on here in Colorado. I also did appreciate Buddy's joke. Not a joke. I thought it was funny, though. Talking about practice. It was very Allen Iverson of him.
It was a little bit.
The parallels were there.
There definitely was.
Practice.
Ryan Feltner, a guy from Pennsylvania, might need to do a little bit more practice, but he talked today about the difference between the minors and the majors. Now Feltner takes the loss in today's game. He falls to 2-4 on the season. He allowed 6 runs, 5 earned, over 4 1/3 innings pitched, 7 hits. Just left some balls in the middle of the zone. And as Buddy pointed out, in the minor leagues, you can get away with certain things. Like mistakes don't get taken advantage of quite as often, but in the majors, they do. Like, that's a huge jump.
Yes, and I liked what Feltner said after the game. He said, you think your whole life about what it's going to take to get to the majors, but you don't necessarily think about what it's going to take to stay there.
That, when he said that actually really resonated in a major way of like that was a wake-up call. Like, he had a way. Last year, hey, I just made it to the show. That's great. And now it's about what to do to stay here, like that, as you just put. And I thought that was really interesting because, he talked about, a get-me-over curveball that's worked in the past and, slider just too much in the middle of the plate, center cut. Christian Walker did some damage. He's a professional hitter, right? 27 home runs now this season. So Feltner's got a couple things to work out, and he's going to have to do it pretty quickly.
I'm sure he wants to stay in the majors, for a number of reasons, but also seeing how many flight issues Justin Lawrence had getting up to Colorado this weekend. He was stuck at the airport for a little bit. He left. He came back. So he thought he was going to be here for the game yesterday and got here super late, right at the end of it, because of the flight situation.
He could have driven.
He could have driven, but I think,
he had confidence in the airlines.
He had confidence in the airlines, and, we know that doesn't always work out.
Yeah, there was a tweet. Patrick Saunders yesterday tweeted out something about Justin Lawrence is activated, and he quote tweeted like, if I can get out of this airport.
Yeah.
So
it was very funny.
that I definitely enjoyed that for sure. I did not necessarily enjoy Josh Rojas continuing to do Josh Rojas type things.
He's so rude when he comes to Coors Field. He's hitting our dingers. He's hitting home runs, not he's hitting dinger. But he's stealing our bases. He's a terrible guest.
Yeah. He's been really good against Colorado this year. In Sunday's game, 2 for 4, 2 RBI, stolen base, run scored. He's hitting .429, 24 for 56 with 8 doubles, 2 home runs, 14 RBI. 14 RBI against Colorado this year.
Too many RBI.
Yeah.
RSBI.
Arizona goes to 8-8, so they're now split. Rockies had a little advantage, but between the 4 games that they've won over these last 2 weekends, now the Diamondbacks, have tied it up. So they are 8-8 this season overall. 15 games under 500. It's unfortunate because again, it's the big what if that we'll be talking about all off season. Maybe even the next couple weeks going ahead is just what this team would be with someone like Chris Bryant in the middle of it. We just won't necessarily know. What we do know is...
What do we know?
And what we know / don't know is today's pitching matchup. Because it quite literally may have been the first ever. Now, there are odds to suggest that it is very rare if you look at certain statistics, but until you go through like every single box score, or maybe Elias Sports Bureau has a way of sorting it out. Maybe there's a way of actually sorting it out. But today's pitching matchup was, again, maybe first of its kind.
It was a rivalry matchup. So Tommy Henry went to Michigan, and Ryan Feltner went to the Ohio State. The two were pitching against each other. So that's a big sports rivalry right there. Maybe not necessarily a big baseball rivalry, but those two schools really hate each other.
It's not as big of a rivalry as like D-backs Rockies, for example.
Of course not.
Like, obviously, I tweeted that out and someone was like, were you serious by that? I'm like, yep, I'm dead serious. What's a better rivalry, Michigan or Ohio State, or Michigan and Ohio State, or D-backs Rockies? Yeah, we obviously know how much more passion is involved in that. But I think there's like something like 27 pitchers who've ever started a game out of Ohio State, and not very many, even by the most. Dave Burba started a lot with the University of Michigan. There's like 31 guys at the University of Michigan who've even started a game, but a couple of them, we're talking like 5 or less. So, them crossing paths like that, I don't know that it's ever happened, but it's definitely rare. We know that.
If anyone knows of it happening before, we would love to know. But yes, it's either never happened or it's extremely rare. This is very niche. This is a very niche stat right here.
The Google machine, it can only go so far.
Yeah.
It can only go so far.
It only
with
does
that,
so much.
But definitely is a pretty rare matchup. And there's some people out there in the Midwest that might be keeping tabs on that kind of thing. Because I think that's kind of neat. Brian Serven before the game was like, oh, this should be a huge thing.
Yeah.
He thought it should be like a national story. And again, somewhere it may be. Somewhere there's a little chyron where it's mentioning at the bottom. We just don't know where that chyron is. We need a screenshot of it because the information's out there. I want to know if it's the first ever matchup of its kind like this.
You have to wonder too. It's like, oh, is it national news, or do those Michigan, Ohio people just like really think that the world revolves around them?
That's their nation. That's Buckeye Nation.
It is.
Is that a thing?
I think so.
It should be.
I
it
actually
probably
think
is.
so.
Someone
But
out
that
there's-
was a cool little factoid, though.
I thought it was.
Yeah, I thought so.
I thought that was pretty neat. Saturday, not too many cool factoids.
Oh.
Jose Urena did not pitch. He pitched okay. He kind of pitched how he's pitched all year. 6 innings pitched, okay. Got a little bit of length. 4 earned runs. They were all on homers. He gave up 3 home runs, so that's less than stellar.
And sometimes Buddy said this in post game on Saturday. Sometimes when you give up 4 runs in 6 innings, you win the game.
That's true.
But yeah, that didn't happen.
That it's kind of joked about a little bit. Like a normal quality start is 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs. And at Coors Field, you're like, all right, if you can last 5 innings, that's good. And if you can only give up 4 runs, that's also pretty good. So the fact that he did 6 and gave up 4, you would really take it. The only problem is offense couldn't do anything.
Nothing.
At all.
Nothing.
3 hits.
Not even Grichuk on his birthday.
No, he got a hit, didn't he?
He got a hit, yeah, but
he kept the birthday boy at bay, which
is
pretty good since he does well on his birthday.
He normally does. I wish he was his normal birthday self, but I'll forgive him.
Yeah, 9 for 26
at the ripe
on
old
his
age
birthday.
of 31.
Yeah, he's got a batting average just under 350 on his birthday. It did get me thinking, like, oh, if you're born on the 13th of a month, like he's born on August 13th, cool. But when you're born on the 13th of a month, you're gonna have a couple Friday the 13th birthdays.
You are, yeah.
I've never had that thought before.
Oh, interesting.
In all of my 22 and a half years on this planet,
oh my gosh,
I've never had that thought. You know what I mean?
Okay.
These things happen. Between the 3-hitter on Saturday, they didn't get a hit, I think, in the 8th inning on Friday night. They didn't have to bat in the 9th inning on Friday night because they were winning. And then I think they had 1 hit through the first 4 innings. Yes. So we had a combined 14 innings where they were held scoreless and they had only had 4 hits, which happens a little bit more frequently, I think, than you'd like. It seems like that's happened a lot this season and last season with this roster for whatever reason. This roster that they're going to be bringing back next year, warts and all. Warts and all. Sam Hilliard had walks and all, had 2 more.
He went for some nice little strolls.
He did. He already has got that ball with the 3 walks up on his treadmill from the other day on Thursday.
It's inspired him. But yeah, he's now on a 7-game on-base streak. Let's not make a graphic for it because we know the graphics are cursed.
Yes. But you know what's not cursed? All of our tailgates. The one on Saturday was off the chain, mile-high sliders. Like, my mouth is getting moist just thinking about.
Why would you say it like that?
Because I'm hungry. I'm salivating. It's Pavlovian. Like, just hearing mile-high sliders and seeing those pictures that we shared with everyone, like, that was just the spot. It looked like a lot of fun, but again, if you're a member, you get a price break on that. You get all the great Broncos coverage, Nuggets, Avs. We're doing it for the Rockies as well. Just had an article out on our buddy Wynton Bernard there at thednvr.com. Now only 50 cents for your first month. Now get in on the hottest sports action for your shot at some cold, hard cash with DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet on your favorite sports all summer long and gear up all football season right now. That includes college football season as well. New customers can make a risk-free bet up to $1,000. So you make your first bet up to $1,000. If it doesn't hit, you get another shot at a big win. That's called hedging your bets. That is almost like rooting against your team, or not rooting against. You make a bet against your team, and then if you lose that bet but your team wins, you win out. I think you know this. I think you know that's my style.
Yes.
I'm a bet hedger.
Emotional hedge.
It's an emotional hedge?
That's what it's called.
That's the proper term? See, here's got the psychology there. You got the psychology.
Did you say that on the mic?
I did not.
Oh my gosh.
That's for you guys only.
For us
that was an
only
off mic.
on this live show.
If they want to hear me more, they can go to bets.
They can go to bets for that.
Yeah, here, we
absolutely.
want to hear you today. Let's not make this a habit.
Well, I do listen to you here on DNVR Bets, which is a wonderful daily podcast. They'll give you all kinds of tips on DraftKings Sportsbook, like same-game parlays, spreads, money lines, over-unders, props. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's code DNVR only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-522-4700. Now, for my DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week, I'm going to Yahir's wheelhouse in MLS. And
Let's go.
I know the Rapids are going on the road this week, right? They got a midweek game. This is kind of one of those 2-game weeks. So they're going to be playing on Wednesday and then again at some point on the weekend. So they're going to Vancouver, and Vancouver's just okay. So, and the Rapids have been playing better on the road. So I'm just going straight up with the win, Rapids, plus 170. Are you feeling, do you like that pick? And now I knew they drew on Saturday against Columbus at home, a team maybe you would have liked to have had them, win and get a little bit closer to that final spot in the Western Conference. But I think they can go out and take down the Whitecaps in Vancouver, in Canada, plus 170.
Not a bad bet. I'd take that any day of the week, honestly.
There we go. All right, I got co-signed. It's
Congratulations.
It's almost like Yahir's DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week. It's kind of...
If it has his blessing, then it's good. Everything I do needs to have Yahir's blessing.
That's not a very good idea for anybody involved.
Listen, we named my mom's grandmother name after you. My sister's children will call my mom Yaya.
Oh, that was Vasquez. Yeah, Yaya, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Senza makes a lot of sense. He was dealing on Friday night.
He was dealing.
That was the one victory of the week against the Diamondbacks, a 5-3 victory. It was actually his 8th quality start of the year, and it is his 4th since returning from the injured list. So basically, it's pretty much, he started the first game after the All-Star break. So he's been pitching really well. 3.86 ERA over that span, 11 earned runs in those 4 quality starts since the All-Star break. And when I say 11 earned runs, I mean only one more in those 4 starts than Miles Michaelis gave up this past week. Let's not forget that.
Roasted.
Brian Serven, 5th home run of the season and his 2nd in his last 6 starts on Friday night.
Also, something I've noticed, this is the 2nd time that Brian Serven has homered in someone else's debut. He homered in Outman's debut with the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Wynton Bernard's debut, and he homered again.
I want to say
So he's just not one to let someone else have all the spotlight. He's like, no. Let me mash this.
Well, you got to track all of his home runs. I'm wondering if Chad Smith maybe came up. No, he came up on the road.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that
maybe
didn't happen.
we have to look back at Jake Bird's debut and see if he homered then too.
Whoa, conspiracy.
Because I asked him, I was like, I'm like, do you realize that you've been doing this? And he was like, who's the other one that I homered in? He's like, was it Jake Bird? And I was like, oh no, I don't think so.
Wait, were you trying to? So that was a tell. You kind of trapped him a little bit. I feel like you trapped him. He's been batting.
Listen, I'm always trapping people in questions. That is my style of interview.
Servin is also batting .333, 7 for 21 with a double, 2 homers, and 4 RBI since July 31st. So, hey, he's stroking at the right time, especially with Elias Diaz out now on the 10-day IL. A lot of injuries going around. We'll kind of get to those in a second, but left hand sprain for him. Hopefully it's not too bad. We'll kind of see what happens for El Tanque. You know, he's a tank, but
he is a tank, but sometimes even tanks get dinged up.
That's what I've learned from all of the war movies that I've seen, and they're called war movies to me. Sometimes you get dinged up. That's usually what they say amidst a couple of F-bombs.
Is that what they say in war?
No, it's not. Now McMahon got a hit. He was our DraftKings Sportsbook King of the Game for Sunday, but Friday notched a hit. Had a 10-game hit streak going there. Unfortunately, yeah.
It wasn't our fault that this one got broken.
No graphics.
We didn't make a single graphic. We're not making any more graphics.
Nice. Hey, nice job not making a graphic.
Thank you.
That was actually really
Out
good.
here doing the bare minimum.
That's it.
Love this for me.
Carlos Estevez earned his second save of the year.
He was great.
He was very much great. I think that was fantastic.
And he got the Daniel Bard light show.
He did.
He got a whole light show. We're just doing
that.
light shows now.
Why not?
Why the
It
heck
should.
not?
Look, they got the fancy light bulbs in there, so you might as well.
We got the light bulbs. We got the switches. I'm assuming they just flip the switches up and down.
Probably.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
I think that makes sense. As we mentioned, a couple of injuries. Daza, he's walking around with a good positive attitude. It's funny how guys on the injured list like still walk around like nothing happens.
Yes.
Nothing's happening to them, but like we're not doctors. We don't have MRI machines in our eyeballs to just be like, oh, clearly there's like a slight limp. Like, no. I even asked one player who I won't even say if he's on the IL or not, and I was just like, hey, how you doing? It was like I'm not hurt. I was like, oh, okay. I was just seeing how you're doing.
Literally
just in general.
Having a conversation.
Yeah.
Just like being cordial here.
Yeah,
not accusing you of anything. It's not Suzie asking you a question. You don't have to worry about it being a trap.
It was not a trap.
It was not a trap.
It was not. But I would have spilled the beans if they mentioned the little lower body soreness there in some way. But Daza dislocated that shoulder. Probably could be a couple weeks at minimum. Imaging looked promising, so nothing major. So, I think that's good. I think we might have mentioned it on last week's show, final one of the week, that that ended his season in 2018. But he's a different player. He's a younger player. It's kind of a different point. Mm-hmm. It's probably more precautionary than any. But I think he wants to get back on the field. Like, hey, Wynton Bernard's up now, so you go. We're kind of battling for a spot on next year's roster potentially. So hey, I want to get back and kind of show what I can do. Alex Colome is banged up after he got banged up on the field this week. Right lateral epicondylitis. I wanted you to say that. I wanted to set you up and say, hey, what is that exactly? AKA tennis elbow.
Tennis elbow.
Just a fancy way of saying that. And that is how Justin Lawrence ended up getting up here.
Yes.
Diaz was how Dom Nunez ended up getting up. And Cool and Chassin, they pitched in a simulated game on Friday. So, they look good, but no real plans in general about, what's going to happen with those guys.
We are just limping into September, aren't we?
We are limping in. But Wynton Bernard is not.
He's not
limping. Let's have our Wynton Bernard fest.
He is
right now.
He is all smiles right now.
As he should be.
This has just been such a fun weekend for us. He is such a great story.
Everyone around him in his circle too. That's the other thing. And his circle keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Like you meet him, it's contagious. Mm-hmm. Like that smile.
Yeah.
Right? And that positive attitude. Mm-hmm. So you asked him a very interesting question that.
What was the interesting question?
Just about, this is become somewhat of a national story, right? People are like, oh, wow, a 31-year-old rookie, which, once you get past 31 years old, you realize that
he's
that's
ancient.
Not that old.
It's a miracle.
Right? But like in the sports world, you're like, oh my God, like 11 years in the minors. Like that's just anytime you do anything, like you're starting at your 30s.
Anything,
right? Like
yeah.
That's the story for people on the outside.
Well, because it's so rare.
Exactly.
It's so rare.
Exactly. Like you've given up by that point, and he hasn't given up.
Not even close to giving up.
And so with everyone coming out of the woodwork, you know what I mean? We haven't even asked him about family coming out of the woodwork.
Oh my gosh.
You're like, oh man, you're making that league minimum money? Okay. But like just friends and coaches and people reaching out. And again, it being like national, like the video going viral of, him talking about his journey and rightfully so getting choked up has it been overwhelming for him?
Yeah, I mean, he said not quite overwhelming, and I asked him if it was maybe more bewildered, and he was like, "Yeah, that's the word."
And
there we go.
That's a great word to put on it. I imagine because he just talks so much about being positive and the positivity he puts out, and it almost makes me think like it's impossible to be overwhelmed by positivity. Like if you're already doing that, right? And you're already almost always putting out positivity. Like we learned that, what's his name? Johnny Doskow. May have mispronounced that, but he's an announcer for the Sacramento River Cats.
Okay.
Because he played there for a year in AAA. They had a nice guy competition where they were trying to they're having a nice off. Like, who can be nicer? Like, that's the kind of guy he is.
Yes.
Where it's constant positivity. And so when it, floods back to you, you might not even notice, how much it is because you're just I only see the positive stuff anyway.
Yeah.
We're always surrounded by positive and negative, maybe equally. And it becomes a superpower to only see the positive stuff.
Yeah, I guess, he's been putting all this positivity out into the world for so long, and now it's just flowing back to him. But it was so crazy though when we were talking to him on Friday, the day that he got here to Colorado. I mean, I think we interviewed him for 20 minutes in his locker. It was just forever. Everyone had so many questions and he had so much to say. But at one point I was sitting there thinking, I was like, okay, so this is the craziest day of your life right here. We are all standing around saying, hey, can you feel all of your feelings right now? And then describe them to us. It was just it was so great though to hear from him, and he was so forthcoming with exactly how he's feeling and talking about his journey. It was quite a day.
Yeah, he's honest. He's not shy. I wasn't necessarily surprised because again, everything I had heard about him, the clubhouse guy rather than the ball player, he's just so genuine. So, when we talked to him a couple weeks ago, when I talked to him in March, he was like, "Yep, I got the news that I got cut, and I was there and I was crying." And you're like, oh, Mr. Athlete guy on this podcast, I hadn't met him before, and he's just that forthright. So it was great. And I thought it was so poetic. Oh,
okay.
That a little chopper to the left side, uses his legs. He's a fast guy, beats it out. And what happens? The man tries to shut him down. The man tries to hold him down. They call him out. But
he knew he was safe, though.
But again, the world responds. He says, we've got instant replay. They review it. First major league hit. That could be the first of its kind, too. I don't know. I don't know of databases of guys their first career hit, right? Think about that.
You gotta start the database.
That's crazy.
He talked about that after the game, though, because he was like, this happens to me so much in the minors. Yes. And I was just he got to, first, and he was like, are you kidding me? It's happening to me again in the majors. My first time ever here.
Not. It's he's safe. We got you now, Wynn. Don't worry. No one's ever going to hurt you again.
No. Prepare to get hurt. Everyone gets hurt at Coors Field. No, but it all turned out great. It was overturned. He stole a base. It was a magical debut.
So it was rare for just a Rocky to have a base hit and a stolen base in their debut. Rafael Ortega did in 2012. He was the most recent. Josh Rutledge and Jeff Salazar also did. So he's one of only 4. But expand it out to all of baseball, and you take his age into consideration. This very well is going to be the first time I will really know a baseball player's age by the day and his birthday. I know his birthday now is September 24th.
Libra season, let's go.
Yeah, through all the research. And when he made his debut, 31 years and 322 days. Because that is part of the story.
Yeah.
Second oldest Rocky to ever make their debut with the Rockies, Alan Cockrell, who was a guy who actually played in the minors in Colorado Springs when they were a Cleveland affiliate, so pre-Rockies. I think he had his number retired. It still might even be retired at Security Service Field. So that's kind of cool. He debuted at 33. But he becomes the oldest player to record a hit and steal a base in their debut since Big Ed Delahanty's youngest brother, who's one of 5, Joe Delahanty of the Cardinals, 3 hits, 3 stolen bases at 31 years, 347 days old, back in 1907.
So we haven't seen the likes of this in more than a century.
Oh my God.
Let's go.
What? That's amazing. I friggin' love that.
Yes.
that again, that's why you come to the ballpark. That's why you want these kind of stories, because it's always so good. The green pants too. He looked sharp. He liked his uniform as he should. He's used to it. He could even go down as a guy who's like worn the most minor league uniforms, not just because of all his teams, and we'll get into him in a little bit. I'm going to be quizzing you on some of those teams.
Oh, no.
I want to see if you know what teams he's played for.
Oh, no.
And looked good in the green pants, but because all the alternate jerseys, right? Like that's going to really, like, how many different SpongeBob uniforms has he worn in his career?
Oh, no.
That there's definitely no database, and I'm not even starting that one. But look, if you want green pants or green stains on your pants, check out the Colorado Golf Association.
Oh, my gosh.
Look, there's over 70,000 golfers in the Colorado Golf
Seamless
Association
segue.
today. You can receive an official USGA handicap with worldwide access to score posting and GPS tracking. Membership means more at the CGA. Members get the opportunity to play exclusive courses around the state, such as Aspen Glen Club, the club at Ravenna, the Pinery, and more. You hear, what is your favorite golf course, and is it Aspen Glen Club?
I'm honestly not a golfer, never played. Only played mini golf once.
Yahir does not play along. Like, he's like, no, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to try to BS it.
I've never heard you talk about golf, so I knew you didn't, but I was like, this will be funny. Let's see what his reaction is.
I played mini golf once, and I hated it.
He hated it.
Are you going to Pixar Putt? Have you checked that out
yet? It's way
yet?
too expensive for something I'm so bad at.
What if you don't have to pay for it? What if we buy your ticket?
I still don't think I would go. I'm scared of that dude with the head from Toy Story.
You know what? That's actually a really good answer, because we don't know what his deal is.
I know his deal is, and I'm still scared of him.
You hear's like, I'm only doing the 10 a.m. because, look, if it gets a little cloudy at noon, and I definitely ain't going when the sun goes down.
He's going to be spooked.
Pixar at night. Well, you don't have to worry about that in Colorado Golf Association, because I don't think they put lights up at a lot of their courses. You golf during the daytime. It's wonderful. Members gain access to exclusive members content with offers and discounts from national and local companies, including Imperial, Golf Tech, and PGA Tour Superstore. Learn about the Colorado Golf Association today by visiting coloradogolf.org and use code DNVR5 to get $5 off your membership. And then use code DNVR on foco.com, FOCO.com. And that's all non-presale items. And you can use that for gifts if you're getting someone that's in another area, right? You're like, hey, I got family back in Illinois. They White Sox, they a Cubs fan. Use code DNVR because Foco's got all kinds of apparel, shirts, hats, accessories, bobbleheads, you name it. They probably even have some Field of Dreams stuff too there.
Oh, I bet they
I
do.
imagine. There's like a whole set.
I mean, we should check.
Of that kind of stuff too. Yeah. But we know they've got some great gear at foco.com. And when you use code DNVR, get 10% off some of that really, really great swag that they've got going on. All right, what else about Wynton Bernard? Do you know what his walk-up song is?
It's God's Plan by Drake, which is the perfect song for him to pick. And also just a great song in general. I'm a huge Drake girl.
I'll say this. I don't know if it would get me hyped. I mean, maybe when it came out a couple years ago, there's a billion more that would get you hyped.
I mean, I get hype about a lot of Drake songs.
It's a good song, no doubt about it.
It's a great song.
But the message in the title of the song is very fitting for Wynton.
So fitting.
So I love that one. He stuck around after his game for like 35, 40 minutes to sign autographs. Like, that's Cal Ripken Jr. type stuff. Like,
oh my gosh, it was so great, but it was so funny. So like, we hadn't talked to him yet either. So we're all like, wait,
you're like,
made it so funny.
Where is this guy? He's big timing us.
So like, he gets in and, he's like covered in dirt from, playing all that baseball. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I forgot about you guys. We're like, no, like, have your moment, enjoy your moment. Like, we were totally good with it.
I didn't know that. Truth be told, I wasn't there on Friday.
Yeah.
Had some family things going on. But when I saw him on Sunday, he came up to me and said hi. He was like, hey man, thanks for that interview in the off season. Like, in my family and stuff, loved it. I was like, you're thanking me? So
his mom thanked us to me, like, on behalf of both of us. So yeah, they were grateful.
Pure class. But that is so hilarious that it's like he's doing something great and kind, but then somehow at the same time, it's like there's going to be one kid who's in like, the upper deck running down. He signs for 30 minutes. He gets done. And it's like, oh man, he didn't sign for me. So like, even when you try to do everything great, you can't always be perfect, but you can always be positive.
Yes.
at
No one-
WyntonBernard.com, where positivity is our number one. No, that should be a website. Is it available?
I don't know. We'll find out later. Yeah, no one faulted him for that though.
Great quotes. Did you have any like favorite quotes either from him, either paraphrase or otherwise, or his mom,
Oh
or
my
Warren
gosh.
Schaefer, or Bud Black?
I don't even know where to start because so many people have said so many great things about him. But I did love that his AAA manager, Warren Schaefer, said that telling Wynton that he was making his major league debut was the happiest moment of his career.
Like that's not an understatement. Like
Yeah.
I think most people get it, but if you don't, you're like, come on. Like, no, it is. Like, again, when you're in the minor leagues, like for Schaefer, for example, like he got to a point in his career, he wasn't going to make it to the majors. I think he had a handful of games in Colorado Springs, and he was a utility guy. He was a great organizational player, but he wasn't going to make it. And there was a point in which he had to give it up and make the leap to coaching and say, now it's time for me to give back to the game, to give back to a younger generation, and all that. And like, that's what coaching is. The coaching isn't like, man, I want to go out and be the manager. Like, no one's going to bed and I hope I'm Bobby Cox one day. Oh man, I want to wear a suit to every baseball game like Connie Mack. Like, you don't dream of that. But eventually it becomes a reality. And you go, I can actually help other people because people helped me. Like, I wouldn't have scratched at AAA. And so Warren Schaefer wants to give back. And to do that and to see a guy who didn't give up on his dream, that's improbable. A guy who wasn't a first-round pick. He was a 35th round pick. That round doesn't even exist anymore.
Nope.
He's only the second player to even come out of Niagara. Matt Brash beat him by just a little bit earlier this year. He debuted for Seattle. So, like, he goes to a school where there's not a lot of ball players even, and it's just such an unbelievable journey, and Warren knows all about it. And even, again, you can have an MVP-type season and never get that call, and it happens that way.
Yeah.
And so if he didn't get called up, you go, Rockies didn't have that need. They didn't want to lose anybody on the 40-man roster. Jordan Sheffield was designated for assignment. We'll see if he comes back. And you go, it's just what happened. He was the 41st man. He just didn't. That's life. That's just kind of how it works. But it did happen. Warren was the one that got to break the news to him and got to be a part of it. And so that is not an understatement that was probably one of the best moments of his career. No, the best moment of his career.
Schaefer is great.
Oh, he is.
He's the best.
Wynton, I love that when he got called up, one of the first things he paraphrasing was like, all right, how many games are we back in the standings?
Yeah.
Like, let's go. Like, let's make a run, man. Let's do this.
He's like doing the math in his head. He's like, okay, what do I have to do? How many bases do I have to steal?
Pretty much, right? He said, I promised myself. I knew how hard she worked, talking about his mother. So I'm going to work just as hard, if not harder. His mother, that work that he did was nursing his father, served in Vietnam. There was Agent Orange in the area that he worked, took great care of himself, but ended up getting cancer and I think, kidneys shut down. But he took great care of himself, and his mother was there looking after, nursing his father, and said, wow, if I can only work half as hard as my mom is in taking care of my father and loving him in this time, then I'm going to be all right. And that was his inspiration.
Taking care of someone who is so sick like that is no easy feat, because I've seen my mom do that too. It is a burden. It is so much. So I totally get how he could be so inspired.
Yeah. So it was great. His mom actually got to be there. That's one of those things too with the logistics is you never know. And I don't know where she was coming in from. I mean, maybe she was also still back in the Rancho Bernardino area. I think somewhere around there. San Diego area. That's where he's from. But that was great that she was actually able to be there.
Oh, yes.
For that. So that it's just a great story. Bud Black, gave him his first, big league game, in spring training, called him up. And in realizing it in the audio that you shared with me, Suzie, it was the same workout at a San Diego high school, some small school, that both Connor Joe and Wynton Bernard were at. Both of them, unsigned, untethered. Buddy got a call from Phil Plantier, good ball player in his day with the Padres. And he said, all right, we'll come check these guys out. I like Connor Joe. Connor Joe got scooped up first in November of 2020. And then in January of 2021, they finally were able to get the deal done and bring Wynton Bernard in to AAA. And the rest is history.
It is crazy. I did not realize that they were at the same The same field, trying for the same
Crazy.
thing. Both guys with absolutely incredible stories. And
Crazy.
you're just... I feel like the Rockies lead the league in just really feel-good stories.
A little bit.
A
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, they've got the record for that. All right, so speaking of records,
Okay.
let's do some Wynton quizzing.
I didn't know I was being quizzed, so I'm
do some Wynton
going to
quizzing.
try to cheat.
I technically have 2 questions, but the second question has like 18 sub questions.
Oh my gosh, Patrick.
I'll keep it to 16. All right, so first off, Wynton Bernard, name-wise, that's kind of been an ongoing thing this season a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a double unique, single unique, which isn't anything, but one of his names is unique, or not unique at all, according to his name? Wynton Bernard. First name Wynton, last name Bernard.
There's got to be another Bernard
Okay.
in the majors.
Okay.
But I feel like there aren't a lot of Wyntons.
Okay, so you're going to go...
I'm going to go single unique. I'm not very confident.
Why not? You thought it out.
Because I did think it out. Oh, so that's my guess. I'm like 80%.
Correct.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
You're right. There's
I needed
one
the
dude.
validation.
There's like one dude named Doug Bernard. And he freaking ruins it. But Wynton, first Wynton, named after Wynton Marsalis, his mom said.
Yes.
The jazz musician. So that's great. All right.
Very
Now
musical family.
Now for the 16 sub questions here. All right. So Wynton is on the Rockies. So
Yes.
he's a Rocky. I'm going to give you a nickname, and you tell me if he was ever described by that nickname. Like, did he ever play for that team?
Oh.
Was he ever a Seawolf?
Yes. Because I know he was in the Detroit system.
Knows systems, folks.
I know systems.
Yes, he was with the Erie Seawolves. Whitecap? Was he ever a Whitecap?
No.
Yes, West Michigan Whitecaps. That was also a Detroit one. It's okay. You're doing all right.
I've never been to that stadium.
So it doesn't
I'm
exist.
so stressed.
It's technically independent ball. It's Michigan, so it's almost even Canada. All right. Flying Squirrel. Was he ever a flying squirrel?
No.
Correct. Yes, he. That's a AA affiliate with San Francisco. He was with their AAA affiliate, Sacramento. So I said that before. I was hoping that wouldn't have like given you like a false flag.
No,
there.
because I don't
Good.
think he played against the Yard Goats.
All right. Ooh, good stuff. All right. Was he ever a Smoky?
Yes.
Yes, Tennessee
I
Smokies.
don't know where this is.
Three out of 4 here. Was he ever an Emerald?
No.
He was. Eugene Emeralds, back with San Diego.
Okay.
All right. Was he ever a Storm? Which is also the plural of the team, Lake Elsinore Storm. But was he ever a Storm?
Yes.
Yes, he
Okay.
was. All right, was he ever a Skeeter?
Yes, he was.
Yes.
It was when they were independent.
You know what? That's a bonus point. I was in my notes too. Yes, before they were
It was
the
when they were
Sugarland-
Atlantic League.
They were. That was in 2020. That was the pandemic season. And they somehow, I still don't know how they did it. They just made like their own 4-team league. One of them was like the Sugarland Skeeters, and they like made up a couple other sponsored teams. They had some kind of league. They did a little bubble in Houston. And they made it work. And so that's why sometimes you might even see like Bernard only played 10 minor league seasons, because technically independent ball isn't a part of minor league baseball, but it is the minor. So you're rolling here. All right. Was he ever a Cub in the minors? Was he a Cub?
Yes.
Yes. Iowa Cubs. Was he ever a Tiger?
Yes.
No. See, I slipped that one in there to trick you. Now I feel bad that I did. No, he did not play with the Lakeland Tigers.
Do feel bad about it. I
That
hope
would've
you
been the
lose sleep
one.
over it.
And was he ever a Padre?
No?
Yes, he was.
Yes?
Arizona Padre. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was the Arizona complex.
Got
so
it.
technically,
Okay.
that one's actually iffy. We'll strike that one from the record since you got the bonus points of independent baseball.
Thank you.
He's been around the block, man.
He
He's been a
has.
taupe. We know that.
He's been a
nice
taupe. He was a great taupe.
It's just a wonderful story, and
That was a fun game. I don't like being surprised, but that was good.
Again, I typically when I have games, I don't make them too hard for the. I gear it towards the person.
Thank you.
So they can have fun.
Usually I'm the one who wants to catch you off guard. So having it go the other way is really stressful for me, but I'm doing okay.
If you go back to some of the tacos or tiers, like I made them incredibly tough for some. I think all of them were tough because I had very knowledgeable people on. But for like Manny Randall when he was on, it was like,
Oh, you can make it really hard for him.
after about 2 minutes, if I did that to just like, just anyone at the bar, especially if they had a couple Breck brews, they would be like crying. They might like
Crying.
try to pick a fight with me because it's just like that bad. But man, he's just it's just a great story. in general. Really lucky to be a part of it. I really didn't think it was going to happen because, that was, again, one of the downsides of them not making any moves at the trade deadline. Was like, well, now there's no free spots, and didn't think it was going to happen. And you still had Valade that was on the 40-man roster. Now he had just, come off the injured list, so maybe they want to be cautious with him. We saw him briefly late last year. Sean Bouchard's been back, playing really well. He would have been maybe a guy you might want to call up, but they decided, like, no, the time is right. They've heard the fans.
Yeah.
We got to have him up.
Yeah. No, I mean, looking at his numbers in AAA too, it's like, well, it took this long? What's going on here?
He didn't start opening day, Susie.
That's
like
crazy.
He was on the bench. But again, he's 31, so it's like, hey, what's his future? What's his ceiling? Let's give the younger guys an opportunity, even if they're not better. Because again, in the minors, it's not necessarily about winning ball games. It's about developing young players or developing all players, true. But you're more likely to give an opportunity to one guy over another, or even a guy like Riley Pine, who's retired. He's now in AAA. That's also a really good feel-good story. Maybe we see him late in the year for a cup of coffee. Don't know. It's different because it used to be that in September with the 40-man roster, anyone that was on the 40-man roster, you could call them up. So legit, the dugout and the bullpens would be packed. And that also made games be very, very long. Yeah. Because you could also change your pitcher like every batter. Because you're like, hey, let's get this rookie some experience, or let's have a pinch hitter.
See, I loved that type of chaos.
I kind of did too. I know I did. I didn't kind of. I definitely
free for all.
I wish that you could go back. You could still have the rosters be that deep, like with 40-man rosters, and keep the game so that it doesn't get too long. Like, again, you can do, and this is something that's been suggested, is almost have like an active 26-man roster. Look, Senzatella pitched on Friday. We know he's not going to be pitching today, so you can swap him out for somebody else. Or it's like having the taxi squad. You could swap guys out and say, Jose Iglesias, we're going to give him the day off. We're not even going to pinch hit him even if Hampson gets hurt. So you know what? We're going to have Trejo. He'll be on the active roster. And so, again, in September, you might even be able to get, 35 different guys, some big league experience, a couple guys that have yet to even maybe make their major league debut. So we're not going to go backwards and have that, unfortunately. But we are going to have something pretty cool on Monday morning at 11 a.m., aren't we?
We got another show.
With
a special guest.
Have we mentioned this special guest? So new game. Have we mentioned this special guest yet?
Yes.
In the last 5 minutes?
Yes.
Are we going to say who that guest is yet?
Should we?
Your call?
Well,
we'll
save it as a surprise. Because what if he oversleeps?
Okay.
The kid likes to sleep in.
All right, so it's a kid.
It's a child. It's not a child.
No.
A kid compared to us.
All right.
Yeah.
So, sounds almost like a minor leaguer then.
Sounds like it. Yeah, sounds like it.
Or a young guy on the Rockies, maybe.
Maybe.
Right. Well, you got to tune in at 11 o'clock to find out. On the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube. 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, of course. If you're watching this in St. Louis or you're a part of the Rockies, you can join us, but it'll be 12 o'clock your time. They'll be getting in Sunday night in St. Louis.
They will. I don't have the flight details yet, but
we'll get them.
When I talk to our aviation reporter, I'll let you know.
Excellent. Yes, we've got one of those on staff now. We
DNVR Aviation.
It's fantastic. So much momentum. Follow us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies. At Patrick D. Lyons is where I'm at on Twitter.
And I am at the Suzie Hunter on all platforms.
Man, Wynton gave us the momentum. And that can only go so far, though.
What did they say, Patrick?
I don't know. I forget. What do I say? No. But you know what they truly say about momentum? It's only good as your next show. So we'll talk to you tomorrow at 11 a.m.